Hi everyone, welcome back to River and Rune. Thank you guys for joining me on the channel today. I'm very excited to get into this week's rune reading and I'm very glad to be back. I took a little bit more time for myself just to gather my things, gather my thoughts, and I'm very excited to be back on the channel sharing with you guys my gift and what I've come here to do, which is just have fun with the runes and to share that with you. So first off, as you guys know, I like to go over the Celtic calendar and go through the Celtic year. So we are in the month of the vine, or Muin as it's called in the Ogham. And the Muin, or the vine, is very much connected to Venusian archetypes as well as the Plutonic archetype. So energies of the chthonic element, right? Going into the underworld, because now we are heading into the time of the autumnal equinox, where the sun is edging forward and forward and forward further into the night, and the nights become longer and the wind colder. So of course it's a lot about going within, going into ourselves, into our psyches, understanding who we are as people so that we can prepare for the coming of spring. But first we got to get through winter. So it's a beautiful time. And one of the beautiful phrases that this book is suggesting is that this month is I am a hill of poetry, which is beautiful, beautiful. The idea that we are the height, the beauty of our creative endeavors. And so a lot of what we're doing, especially as we begin September and as we begin the months of school and all these different things, especially with all the stuff that's been going on in the world at this time, with the pandemic and all that has come to pass, it is very important that we restore ourselves as we prepare for the winter. So now we are also very close, as I mentioned earlier, to the autumnal equinox. And what does that mean? That means it will be the day on September 22nd, I believe, where it will be equal parts day and equal parts night. So again, this is the time to connect to ourselves more deeply, to find out what it is that we want from life, and perhaps what it is that we're worried about or that we fear. It's the equal parts, which is going to be fun. So let's see what the runes have to say for this week ahead, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some fun stuff. Okay. So first off, as for those of you who join me on the channel often, you know that sometimes I get visions while I'm doing the stones and while I'm getting things ready, and it feels to me, I had quite a visceral reaction just there, where I felt this cold wind blowing over me. And I was just reading today about the old Irish legend about the children of Lear, which is about these 4 children who were born to the father of the sea god, Manannan. His name is Lear. And beautiful children, 4 beautiful children, but their stepmother, Aoife, who was his wife and was the sister of his first wife, Eve, who was the one who gave birth to the 4 children, became insanely jealous of his love for the kids. And over some prophecies and some magic and some wild stuff that happened, she transformed the 4 kids into swans and condemned them to constantly go from lake to lake, traveling across the hills of Ireland and the waters of Ireland. And at the end, when Lear found out about her treachery, as well as the other character of the story, Boy Jarrick, they transformed her into a dreadful cold wind, a demon of the wind, they called it. So it was this kind of grief, I feel like, and of course many of us may be going through some deep grief, whether it is that we have lost people, physically, we have lost people emotionally, or perhaps we have lost friends, families, jobs. There's a lot that has happened to us, and especially given what's been going on globally. There has been a lot of loss, and especially with Mars now being in retrograde until I believe mid-November, we have a lot of this energy that is suggesting about turning inward, allowing ourselves to care for our battle wounds and find out what's really worth fighting for. So, as you guys know, it's like a drop that falls into the center of a pond and it ripples out into time. So the further away we are from the center of the circle, the longer it will take to get there. So, we'll start here in the middle. We have two runes. One has fallen on its side, and the other, I tend not to read Merkstav or upright because it has a very unique meaning to it. So we have, the first is Othala, and you know I love to see Othala. This is the rune of spiritual inheritance, connection to one's power, to one's glory, this energy of connection to home and to a sense of self. But it's fallen on its side. If it had fallen Merkstav, that would have suggested that many of us are in a space at this moment of totalitarianism, provincialism, perhaps not seeing as far as we can go, becoming very concerned with the things in front of us. It's almost like a certain level of a myopic tendency, looking only at what's in front of you instead of being aware of all that's around you, the wealth, the joy, the prosperity. But because it fell on its side, it's suggesting that, of course, with all of this grief, with all the stuff that we've been going through, it feels like we're on rocky ground. We're on the space between times. We're heading towards the equinox as well, so we're in the space between light and dark. And depending on how we connect to this energy is going to determine whether we will use it to embrace our inheritance, to embrace what belongs to us, and to release what doesn't, so that we can move forward into a beautiful life. Or are we going to stay stuck focusing on the things that may not serve us any longer? And next to it, we have Nauthiz. Now, Nauthiz is a very powerful rune, and I tend to suggest that it connects to the zodiac sign of Scorpio. And the scorpionic energy, which is very deeply passionate, full of need and desire, yet so wise and intuitive and deeply connecting to all of its internal processes and to the internal processes of others. So Nauthiz very much is a rune of desire. They call it the need fire, the fire within us, the thing that draws us forward, right? So because it fell together with Othala, and especially Othala being on its side, what I'm feeling from the runes is that we are in this liminal space with all of this grief around us. And it is time that we utilize the fire within. Don't let it go out. Don't let that fire, that hope go out. The desire for the things that you want in your life, don't let it go out, right? And a part of doing that is to connect to things that make you happy. Laugh more, play more, connect to the people that you love. Whatever it is that you need, or even if it's alone time for many of us introverts out there. Perhaps it's more alone time. Whatever it is, it's time to connect to that need fire so that we can make the decision to embrace our spiritual inheritance, to embrace what belongs to us, to embrace that sense of home, not only within our body, but within our work, our mind, and our soul. And later on, we have some very interesting energies. I feel drawn to start here with Kenas. So Kenas is a beautiful rune. You know I love Kenas, for those of you who frequent the channel. Kenas is a strong rune, and it represents the torch. It's one of the 3 fire runes of the rune set. And it connects to what we carry forth. It's the fire that we carry forth. Again, it feels like right now we're in this state of preserving the embers of our soul so that we can stoke that fire, light this torch, and walk forward. But what is this torch? Kenas represents vitality. It represents will. It represents the strength of our purpose, right? So a lot of it is trying to connect to that, but I do feel that for some of us, or for some of you who are watching this kenos is feeling a little bit consuming. It's almost like we're focusing too much on how to move forward faster, focusing too much on how to make things go quicker. And when you run with a torch, the torch often goes out. So it's time to slow down just a bit. And again, keep in mind what you're kindling, what kind of fire you've lit. Yeah? Then we have Ansus here in reverse. So don't overthink. Don't overthink these things. Ansus in Merkstav oftentimes represents the cerebral processes that can connect to cunning, manipulation, or the ways in which we can utilize our mental capacity to dupe ourselves, to kind of convince ourselves that things are impossible when they are. So try and find out what's going on, why all of this overthinking, and slowly ease back so that you can truly listen to the message of your heart. And there's a lot going on here with Haglas that's out of our control. I mean, with the pandemic, with all these things that have been happening globally, there is a lot outside of our control, and that's okay. There's a lot of things that we can do that are within our control, that are close to home, close to who we are, close to what we will be. And sometimes it requires letting go into the storm. You can't fight the storm, but perhaps it's time to dance in the rain, like they say. And later on, depending on how we handle these energies, so this is going into the week ahead, and I feel like a lot of this energy may continue for some of us going into the rest of September, heading into the beginning of October. I feel like once October 1st comes around, there will be a transition. But for now, we're saying that right now we're in this moment of kindling, and we're carrying that torch forward. And not to run too fast, and not to overthink too much, because that's the running quickly. That's the process of running quickly. Running too fast, the torch will go out. So slowing down, embracing the things that are outside of our control, and then find out what is in our control, and utilize that to change what we need to change. And depending on how we process that, Wunyo is waiting for us. I would love to see this upright. It fell on its side, but I would love to see for all of us to manifest this upright for ourselves. Wunyo being the rune of joy, of happiness, and of contentment, and of higher connection to oneself. So a lot coming. It's going to require some deeper thought about our relationships, about who we are, about where we're headed, and not to run too fast. Take your time. I know we may not have all the time in the world, but we can afford ourselves 5 to 10 minutes a day to sit down, to be grateful, and to think about what we want to happen next. So that's what the runes have for us today, some powerful stuff. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that. This week ahead seems to be powerful and transformative for many of us. So keep that in mind and be gentle with yourself during this time. And I hope to see you guys soon on River and Rune. Of course, if you like this video, which I hope you have, please subscribe down below so that you can be aware of whenever I put out some more videos, which are always fun. And put in the comments below if you have any questions or any thoughts that you want to ask the runes next week. I'm very curious. Perhaps we can have some fun asking some specific questions. And keep a lookout. I have a fun idea for you guys that I'm going to be sharing with you all soon. And I will be posting that on my Instagram account on River and Rune very soon. So I'll see you guys soon.